Okay, in this movie, we're going to be creating the first burst of motion. This what I mean here. These two main waves that basically create the movements of our clones and moving them. This is what I mean here. We're going to be trying to recreate this sort of motion using our plane effector and using different type of fall-offs, and I show you how you do that. So let's get our main cloner selected, go to your MoGraph effector and add a simple plane effector here. There we go. As you can see, the first thing that plane effectors does and affects, you can see in the parameters, it moves our clones in y-axis by 100 centimeter. So this is not too bad for starting, but for starters, the first thing I want to do is to change the fall-off type from infinite to torus. Okay, this is the first thing. And the next thing I want to make sure, if I go through here, I want to make sure that my sort of torus is not here, but I want to kind of align it with my floor, something like this. So if you go to its coordinates, it's something like 50 centimeters. Let's go a bit more round number, exactly 50 centimeters. And this is our first torus. And basically, if you take a look, it's is a torus, and it affects only the clones that are inside this torus. If you take a look here, so that's very simple, I think. Let's just go to our fall off tab and change the size a bit. I want to make sure it's let's see, go to something like 50 centimeters in y-axis, 75. So now we have some action going on. Change this fall off to 100% so the amount of effect is a bit more gradual. And also, I think generally speaking, we're in a good position right now. What I want to change, let's go to our option, level of detail, go to medium, so we have a bit more of clones and we can see them much more better. And let's start actually animating our plane. I'm going to go to frame 0 and start working on my first torus planar. The amounts and the parameters I want to animate, the first thing is this scale, and as you can see, as I change the scale, it goes and becomes bigger. And if I go overboard, you can see it sort of gives us this sort of motion, as you can see, very nice. And another parameter that's very important is this radius, which basically controls the radius of our torus and how kind of slim or thick it gets. As you can see, you can basically change it. So by animating these two parameters, we can basically animate our first torus and create our first burst of motion. So let's get started. I'm going to start by the scale of 100% and get back to frame 0 and animate this value. And the radius, let's go to something like 50%, okay? And animate the radius 2. And let's go to something like 2-3 seconds, about frame 80, okay? In frame 80, I want to make my radius something like 20% or 25%, and add the scale, increase the scale amount to something like, let's go quite a big amount, like 1200%. And now if I go back, you can see the sort of motion we have. I think we forgot to, yes, I did a mistake here and animate the size. Just Control Shift, click on this circle here. It gets rid of the animation track there for you, and make sure you change your scale to 100% and animate it again. And that should give you this sort of motion, as you can see. And we have a much more better viewport, as you can see right now. Great. So this is our first burst of motion. We're going to definitely need to tweak it when we create the second torus. So this is our first torus. Let me put it down here and name it plane. Let's see if everything is great. Okay, plane torus 01. And control and drag to create the second copy and name it 02. For this second copy, I'm gonna right click on this and go to my go to your show tracks, and I just want to offset the motions and the animations on this plane, to the first one. Let me offset it. Right now we have just our second plane effector. I put our first plane effector in here. Now we got both of them. And what I want to do, this is our second plane effector. Let me hit H so it zooms in and frames all of our keyframes. And then I'm going to select my second plane effectors. And let's just take a look at the motions here. If we go to frame, for example, 10. Okay, right now it looks like because we have copied our plane effector, it hasn't been applied to our cloner. So select your cloner, go to your effector tab and make sure your second plane effector is also applied to your cloner. Now there we go, you get this motion, and as you adjust the keys here and offset them, you get this different set of motion. I'm going to frame 10, looks like sweet spots there, and I'm going to select my second torus effector, go to your fall off shape, and what I'm going to change in here is basically try to stretch it in Z direction so we get those sort of ellipse-like wave. Let's go to something like 175. Okay, and let's see what we have right now. Now this is the motion that we get. And let's see what we have here. Okay, it is not too bad. First of all, we got a few problems. As you can see, our clones shouldn't go kinda. Let's take a look at here. You can see these clones are moving away from our floor, and we have to make sure that they are staying kind of connected to those floors, otherwise we're going to have so many problems. So let's see which we have to adjust both of them. So let's go to our plane effectors, both of them. Go to your, let's select the first one, go to parameters. Right now it's 100 centimeter, which is too much. Let's go to 50 centimeters, and for this one let's go to something like 60 and see what's going to happen. Now as you can see, all the clones are staying down here, which is great. And if you take a look, you have this nice motion. Let's just see where we are here. I think the amount of offset could be a bit more. Let's just do that. Show the tracks and make sure you have the first plane effector there. And let's hit H to zoom in, and let's make the offset a bit more. So something like this looks like quite nice actually for my eyes. And I'm gonna close this scene. Let me save the scene here for you, and let's add a bit more detail so we can see where we are. And also I'm going to my cloner and turn this proxy off so we can really see what's going on in our scene. Okay, so display quick shading lines. There we go. I think we have turned on this stereoscopic effect, so we got some problems. Okay, now we can try to render this motion and see what we have, or just get away a bit here and just render a quick render and see where we are. Okay, not too bad at all, and we're gonna add more secondary motions later on. Let's see, select this plane effector. The fall-offs are good. And I think we are ready to go there. Let's just, for final tweaks, I'm going to my parameters here. Let's just go to something like 40 and 50 maybe, because those sort of looks like a bit more too much of motions. Oh, okay, this is definitely not too bad. And if we want, we can still go lower, go to something like 30 centimeter and 40 centimeter for this one. And let's see where we are. Okay, definitely not too bad. And we can actually have a quick preview render and see what's going on in our scene. So let me just, in order to do that, I'm going to make my render to be the software render, and I am ready to go through and also make sure you got the frame from frame 0 to 150. Let's have a quick render and just something like 500, 375, and let's just hit render so we get a quick software preview, and it should be very quick. I'm going to pause the video until it's finished. So let's stop the render. I think it's enough here. And this is what we have, which is definitely not too bad. And when we add those secondary motions, it's going to get much more better and much more nicer. But for starting point is I'm quite happy, and we get this sort of nice motions. And just let's quickly organize our scene as we go. Select those two effector, Alt G, and let's name them effectors for main cloner. Okay. And also I'm going to my layers and create a new layer, and let's go to a bit more different color, control down, and add this whole null object to your layer, so the children also now are part of that layer. And let's name these guys the effectors. Okay, there we go. And I think we are ready to go to our next lesson and add more secondary motions.